welcome in, though, our European football expert, Mr. Andy Brassell. Andy, really appreciate you coming in, as always. Let's get straight into this one. Gvardiol to Man City from LEIPZIG. They've got a lot of centre-backs already. I think Rory has even said things like, where will they play? Whereabouts, in terms of sort of positions, will Gvardiol fit in? Because there's so many good centre-backs at the club. What's going on with that one?
Well, I think there are a couple of aspects to this. Firstly, Aymeric Laporte will probably go this summer because he's been pretty unhappy about the time that he's had or not had. Kyle Walker's desire is to move on. Of course, he can play as a third centre-back as well, which is something that Gvardiol can do. And this is the other half of it, the fact that Gvardiol is someone who's extremely versatile, that he can play left-back, left centre-back, left in a three. And you've got to add the fact that if everything goes right and as we expect it to go and he avoids injuries, he's going to be one of the best defenders in the world for the next 8-9 years, which I think is huge for City as well. I think in an ideal world, Leipzig would not have sold him this summer. Now, I think if you go back a couple of months, I would have predicted they wouldn't sell him this summer, particularly in the situation where they've already agreed months ago the sale of Christopher Nkunku to Chelsea. Obviously, the buyout clause for Dominic Szoboszlai was paid by Liverpool as well. So all of a sudden, they're looking at a rebuild. The thing was, they were setting a prohibitively high, what they thought was a prohibitively high price for Gvardiol. But it turns out that City are prepared to pay at least most of it. So they came in with quite a high opening offer, not quite enough for Leipzig, but it's put them in a position, Leipzig, where they basically know they're going to have to sell him this summer.
What's happening with Bernardo Silva, Andy? Manchester City could potentially lose what is, in my opinion, their best and most valuable player, just in terms of his brilliance. I think he's sensational. But the rumours that he's going to be leaving, going to Paris Saint-Germain, seems to be hotting up.
Yeah, and he's wanted to go for a couple of years, Rory, and it's nothing to do with dissatisfaction about the way he's treated at City or about the football project. But I interviewed him a couple of times. He's just a curious guy. He's a worldly guy. He's not a footballer who's obsessed with money or cars or anything like that. You know, he drove a smart car into his first couple of years at Manchester City. He's someone who wants to see the world. I think he's taking stock a little bit. He just got married last week. And him and his wife, I think, want to go and see something else. Now, Barcelona to him was interesting a couple of years ago. I think it's become apparent. It was apparent then. It's apparent now that they don't have the money to make such a deal happen. So maybe PSG is the only possible point for him to make that move. From their perspective, it'd be a huge upgrade for Manchester's for PSG. Look at how good he is off the ball as well. I think that's something that they've really lacked. You know, you had a front three who did nothing off the ball, and they were never going to win the Champions League with that. However attractive they may be to sponsors and everything else. So he would be absolutely immense for them in a time of big change, because obviously they're in a difficult situation with Kylian Mbappe, who they would kind of like to sell at the moment, but is refusing to go because it would require him writing off a lot of money and Real Madrid spending a lot of it, which they would rather spend on him and he would rather have spent on him next summer. The counterpoint to this is, after losing Gundogan, City want to keep him. You know, as you said, he's arguably their most important player. You could say maybe him, you could say maybe Rodri. The balance of power in that Manchester City in room has changed quite a lot in the last little while. So really, can City offer him enough money to make him want to stay? Like I said, I don't think it's all about money, but I think feeling wanted is very important to any footballer, of course.
No, that's Man City. Let's talk about their neighbours, Manchester United. We speak to so many United fans, so many United guests come on. You ask them what's the most important position that they need to fill, and they all say number 9, not the goalkeeper, not the midfield, which they've now sorted, but number 9. Rasmus Højlund, the Atalanta forward, has been heavily linked with Manchester United. For those that don't know too much about him, good player, good fit for the Premier League?
Yeah, I mean, he's got the potential to be absolutely huge. He's not only had a very good first season with Atalanta, and you know, you need to be good to get in that team. I think you look at his start of his international career with Denmark, 6 goals in 6 games for the senior team. It's pretty fantastic, and everything about him is convincing. He's an orthodox. He's a versatile, unorthodox like a very accomplished finisher already. His movement is absolutely fantastic, which I think is important for the way that United and Ten Hag eventually want to play. But I think if you look at before, when they were looking at Benjamin Šeško, before he signed his deal with RB Leipzig, who he's going to be playing with this season, they're looking for a young striker who can grow with them. Manchester United have been linked with Harry Kane for ages. I actually think with what they're trying to do, he's not. It would be great for them, obviously, but they're looking for something a little bit different. And I think the fact that they first went for Šeško and now they're looking at Højlund is a really good example of some joined up thinking at United at last. Because what they can do, they've got so many good wide players. You put Rashford in the centre forward spot, and then you get the younger player to learn off him and to back him up. And then eventually you can play them in the same team if you want to drop Rashford out to the left-hand side, so you can do both of those things. But there's definitely consistency in the way that they're thinking about recruitment, and that is a massive step forward for United.
Andy, I need you to educate me, please. Mickey van der Ven, off to Tottenham apparently. Is he a good fit?
I think he'd be great for Spurs, particularly Rory, because they need some pace at the back. That's what they've been really lacking. He's become a leader for Wolfsburg this season. Maxence Lacroix was the centre-back from Wolfsburg that everyone was looking at last season. Didn't get his move, had a massive sulk about it, and it really affected his form last season. So Van der Ven, at quite a young age, had to be the leader, and he did that very well. Now, there's a bit of an issue with this transfer because it's being talked about in England and the Netherlands as if it's a done deal. Now, this is a mystery to Wolfsburg because clearly Van der Ven's representatives have been talking to Spurs for some time. He's been quite, you know how Szoboszlai was saying for weeks, well, I'm happy here, but I'm definitely open to a move. Van der Ven has been sort of saying the same thing. He hasn't officially asked for a transfer, but he's made it clear that he would be up for this move and that Tottenham would be interesting to him. Now, Wolfsburg haven't even been approached by Tottenham yet. Everything has been done by intermediaries. So what Wolfsburg are saying, and they're in a great position, having just sold Felix Metscher, the former Manchester City youth product, to Borussia Dortmund for a fee that's going up towards 30 million euros. You're under no financial pressure to sell. So they're looking for about 40 million euros, I think, for Van der Ven, but they've not even received an opening offer from Spurs yet. So I don't know if we're quite looking at Daniel Levy being levied. I don't think we're quite there yet. But I think everyone's assuming this is over the line. And Wolfsburg are saying, come on, show us the money. This is a really good player who could be a really good centre-back and someone who Tottenham could build around. So you're not going to get him for nothing.
Just before you go, Brass, sorry, very quickly on this one, if you can. Pau Torres, a lot of Aston Villa fans getting in touch saying, when's this deal going to get over the line? Obviously, worked under Unai Emery for Villarreal, good defender, Spanish international. When can we expect that one to kind of get the blue tick?
Well, everything's been agreed for a while. From what I gather, it's about method of payment, a little bit like Aston and Declan Rice. We know it's heading in the right direction. Pau Torres, I think, would be really great for them. Obviously, it gives me the heebie-jeebies that they've got so many left-footed centre-backs, but I'm sure a lot of people will feel the same as me about that. But it just means Villa are going to be extremely strong at the back. He's a player who's needed a move for a while. We know he's got intrinsic quality. Real Madrid wanted him a couple of years ago and couldn't afford him. And I think at the sort of price he's going for, it's terrific value for Aston Villa as well.
Cheers, Brass. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Andy Brassell, their European football expert. Loads going on. This Gvardiol one to Man City is extraordinary, Rory. The amount of money they're going to spend on Gvardiol. We're hearing it's going to be upwards of £90 million. RB Leipzig won 100 million.
To take Laporte's place on the bench?
Yeah. Pretty much in it. But honestly, it's like a defensive lineup with Ruben Diaz and Gvardiol together.
The trouble is you can't drop Akanji. He's too good.
Yeah.
You can't drop him.
Well, he's been playing left back.
But you can't drop Nathan Ake either, who was immense. This is an amazing problem for Pep Guardiola to have. But
I almost feel like with the talk of Kyle Walker potentially going, and I don't think he's going to find a place for Cancelo, it wouldn't surprise me if he goes very defensive and it's almost four centre-backs at the back. So Nathan Ake, Akanji. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. It wouldn't surprise me, Gvardiol and...
that could happen.
Yeah, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me as well.